time, if you build relationships with them, if you invite them out to the church fundraisers, to the banquets, to the activities going on, you'll find that scholars are very friendly. They'll do pretty much, sometimes to a fault, they'll do whatever you ask them to do. You know, that's a good thing, but it can be a bad thing, especially when you're married and stuff like that. But that's besides the point. But what I would like to see established from here, and that's what I want you to think about as you go back to your home church, as you start to figure out ways to build the congregation, to build young families, think about scouting. Be strategic in how, even with leadership that might not be a part of the church, how you can possibly, it's all about enriching. If you're a good Christian, people can sense that. And when you give love to someone, even if they not of your faith, eventually that love will transcend into an actual person to have fellowship with you. All it takes is one time, one visit. And as long as the word is true, which I believe it is, then I believe that heart will confess a love for God, and you might have gained a family. Because all you need is one. Start off with just one child, one father, one mother, and it'll grow. So think about scouting. I know some of them say, well, it's competing with my other youth groups, and it shouldn't compete with anything. It actually should complement whatever you have in existence, if you use it strategically. You know, but if all the kids are having fun over here, and then in the other group they just making macaroni and cheese faces on plates, then the competition. You know, kids got selective taste just like we do. You know, but that's my hope today, is just to plant a little seed, just a little mustard seed of a possibility of a partnership between scouting and your home parish, and how you can use it to bring people that might have never even thought about going to your church the opportunity to see how great your church is. Okay? And I'll turn it over to Ron. He can give it from a volunteer perspective.
Thank you. It's been a long time since I volunteered with Scouts, actually. I do most of my volunteer work with adult leaders. And I have seen a lot of men and women of faith who have come together to provide a good program, good character-based program for their youth. And scouting is that basis in my case. I've been involved in scouting for about 25 out of the last 50 years. I started as an 8-year-old Cub Scout. And I've served in a number of positions at the district level and council level. The best way that you can use scouting, as Lonce said, is to use it as a way to get the unchurched people through your doors from your community. You can build community-based organizations within your church, and then you might be able to enjoin those members to come into your church and be a part of your church family, as well as the scouting family. So it serves not only scouting and the family, but it also serves the church itself in building that organization. Our goals in scouting have kind of come full circle in a lot of ways. We started out with faith-based organizations. At one time, about 76% of our units were sponsored by faith-based organizations. And that dropped. We started bringing community-based organizations. And now we're relooking the process and are kind of going home to the foundations of participating citizenship that were outlined in the beginning by the founders of scouting, some of which were not only Lieutenant General Robert Stevenson Smith, Lord Baden-Powell, but also James E. West, who was a New York attorney, Dan Beard, who was an outdoorsman, Ernest Thompson Seton, who was a conservationist back when conservation was not really thought of. He was actually a conservationist, and they were all looking toward this problem of what do we do with the youth in the cities and in our communities, as America at that point was moving from a kind of a more of a farm setting into the urban areas. And we were starting to have urban centers, which you did not have until the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century. So here we are, 100 years later, and we're basically going back, relooking our programs, and kind of restarting our faith with our faith-based partners, our charter partners. And we would love if you do not have a unit in your particular church. We'd love for the priest or for the men's organization, Brotherhood, to come out and talk with the professionals, give Lonce a call, and I'm sure that we can, even if you're not from Philadelphia, I'm sure that we can put you in contact with the local scout executive and his staff, and I'm certain that they can get you into the program and get a unit organized. And I thank you for your time and attention. I'm going to pass the mic back to Ed.
I was a Boy Scout leader in my early 20s, passed that down. But I recently purchased a coin from the U.S. Mint. It was a Boy Scout, what you call it, but a very nice piece of silver. But I noted on there, in addition to showing the Boy Scouts, they showed a girl. And I don't know anything about that. Maybe you can tell me, is it Boy Scout still?
Boy Scouting has a program called Venturing, which is an older scout program. It's called Venturing. It's an older scout program. It's actually co-ed. And again, it's introducing youth to what life is all about. You know, when you're 10 years old, girls have cooties. When you're 15 years old, girls are a lot more interesting. So the idea is the program is designed to be appropriate for the age group, and the venturing program is actually designed to build on the leadership skills that Boy Scouts teach the 11 to 14-year-olds. Venturing takes it a step further where they're doing more of their own leading and planning and developing, so they're building on the leadership skills they learned at the younger ages and develop them further.
It's just a replacement for the Explorer Scouts?
Essentially, yes.
And one of the good parts of this too is that the guys stay longer in the program because the girls are there. The guys like girls and girls like guys, you know, and we figured it out because in the Girl Scout program, they really don't have a hardcore high adventure platform for the older girls. So the Boy Scouts figured that out, and that's when we created the Venturing. So pretty much it's the exploring scout program. However, it gives that high adventure edge.
One other thing I ought to mention is venturing is a great opportunity for any congregation that has a high school youth group. You can charter that congregation as a venturing crew, and all of a sudden all the scout facilities are open for your crew, for your youth group to use for activities. So say you want to take them out to do some climbing. Most Boy Scout camps have a really nice climbing tower that they can climb up and rappel off.
If they like to shoot, they can shoot too. There's a lot of, there's so many things you can do, and all our camping facilities are open to that youth group, so they can use everything from kayaking to fishing, what have you.
I also had someone here in the group that mentioned that they had been a Sea Scout many years ago. Yeah. Well, I was seated next to, at the last Eagle dinner that we had, which was last month, a female Sea Scout who had earned the Quartermaster Award. The Quartermaster Award is the highest award in the Sea Scouting program, and it's roughly their equivalent of the Eagle Scout Award. So, and she was impressed. Also, the National Venturing Youth Chair is a female at this point. She's tenuring out because she's turning 21, and I'm sure the Boy Scouts have plans for her later.
Do y'all know where the National Jamboree is going to be this year?
Well, The next National Jamboree is 2017, and Boy Scouts have moved the Jamboree site to a permanent site called the Summit in West Virginia. It's about an hour south of Charleston, just off I-77. Any other questions?
How about the World Jamboree?
The next World Jamboree is next year. It is in Japan. In 2019, the World Jamboree comes to the Summit.
My brother in 1970 went to a World Jamboree in Japan.
I just wondered if you have a marketing campaign that's specifically aimed at churches to get the message out to what you have to get them into a local church. Do you have anything like that organized, or maybe that's something the Brotherhood could do with you?
Actually, we're trying to revamp our media, and because if you look at some of our advertisements, it's been like 1985 since we updated a lot of them. So actually, that would be a great idea that we can work in conjunction with the Brotherhood and do something like that.
I'll expand on what Ron said. As Ron mentioned, I think the BSA is realizing that having our roots within faith-based charter partners is the way to continue scouting as a strong program into the 21st century. And Ron and I actually went to a training session at the annual meeting last month where they're talking about just that, about how to develop marketing campaigns to reach out to religious charter partners. So as I said when I introduced Ron, something Brotherhood chapters can do is, number one, support a scout unit that your congregation may sponsor already. Number two, if they sponsor one scout unit, talk to them about sponsoring more. If they sponsor a Boy Scout troop, there's a Cub Pack and a venturing crew. If they sponsor a Cub Pack, you can fill in the list. It strengthens the overall program. It exposes more families to both your congregation and to scouting. And for those of you in chapters that don't charter scout units, talk to the rector. There's a lot of opportunities there for reaching out to unchurched families. As I'll say in my talk tomorrow, roughly 40% of the families that belong to scout units are believers but they're unchurched. So you have the possibility of finding people that if you expose them to a church that's loving and welcoming, you have the opportunity to have them join your parish. So scouting is a marketing opportunity the other way too for congregations that are looking for younger members. As I recall, Bob mentioned that the average age of the Episcopal congregation was what? Oh, or was that Jeff? Somebody yesterday mentioned the average age was in the mid to upper 50s. There's not a lot of people in their mid to upper 50s that have 8-year-old Cub Scouts.
Well, I have another question. I hate to bring it up, really. I just hate to bring it up, but it has to come out. There's some people in our church that wanted to kick the Boy Scouts out.
I understand.
And I just wonder where that is now, and what's the antidote to that kind of thinking?
Okay, I'm going to turn that one over to the professionals.
I don't want it. Well, all of you heard what our national president, Dr. Gates, has said concerning that issue. So things are changing. As you know, with our youth, we changed the membership policy. Things are changing. So, stay prayerful. And like I said, it's in God's hand, but all things will work out for the best in the end. But anytime as far as local councils, some local councils, you can always call your local scout executive, and they can give you their point of view, because now councils are starting to take their own stance when it comes to those type of issues.
This is a very difficult issue, and some of us in this room actually voted, or had to vote, because we were solicited to, someone's asking me a question about this whole situation. And my position simply is, why are we punishing the children for the political decisions that others have made? And this is what's troubled me for so long. I'm a former scout as well, an Eagle Scout in Bronze Pond. I was an assistant scoutmaster years ago. And not only did the Brotherhood change my life as an adult, an older adult, but the Boy Scouts changed my life as a younger adult. I was very fortunate to be a member, and it shaped the life that I lead today, and I'm still called either a Boy Scout or an Eagle Scout when it comes to certain situations. But I also wanted to take, if I can indulge, and recognize somebody who just arrived who's a Scoutmaster. How many in this room, before I mention your name, Reggie, how many men in this room that are participating in this convention that are Scoutmasters? Besides Reggie. Please stand up, Reggie. I won't embarrass you. Reggie Scandalberry. And I had recruited him some time ago to try to talk with Ed Milbrada and others, because he's also very active in the Great Indian Council. I always get it wrong. Okay. So please connect. Thank you.
I'm an Eagle Scout first.
That's right.
That's why we get along.
I think it would be appropriate for us to give a little feedback here. How many of you were former Scouts? Can you please stand up? Stand up. You're a former Scout. Is that a testament to the benefit of the program these gentlemen have spent their lives with? I'm an Eagle Scout. How many of you are Eagle Scouts? Stand up.
A few.
I lived, as Bob mentioned, my life has been transformed because of the Scout law. I lived my life based on that. And I got it not from the Episcopal Church, not from the Brotherhood, but from Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is a phenomenal experience for youth. And I expect that that could be a major revitalization of a huge portion of our youth. So I do want to commend all of you to take a look at the experience you've had in your life and how important Scouting played in that role. And then take some of the guidance that we're being given today.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes.
I'd just like to say that I just want to commend the Brotherhood of St. Andrew for taking such a stand on Scouting. I'm from Washington, D.C., and the Scouting coordinator at St. Timothy's Church. And at one time, we had over 100 members in our Boy Scout troop. And now we only have about 20. But we were one of the bigger troops in Washington. In fact, we were doing such a good job that the city gave us a $10,000 grant to continue our recruitment of young boys in the southeast area of Washington, D.C. So I didn't realize that the Brotherhood had this focus, but I'm happy that they do. And I just hope we continue our Brotherhood of St. Andrews with this big focus on Scouting, because it really pays off for young men.
Amen. Amen.
I was looking at the schedule and I realized that we're the last thing right before lunch. So one more question, if anybody has one.
Thank you so much for this presentation. One reason why I didn't make Eagle, there are many reasons, but certainly one reason why I didn't make Eagle is because my family self-destructed when I was 12 years old. My parents divorced. And I'm a child of divorced parents. We talked about divorce here today. You can call me collateral damage. My parents went their separate ways. I went off to boarding school, then I went to a foster family, and I really kind of shuffled around. And a lot of those other places didn't have Scout programs like my family. So anyway, my sense of Scouting makes me want to help my fellow children of divorced parents. I think there's a real need in our country to help the children of the divorces. And as one gentleman here said, there's roughly 1 million, I can't remember the statistic, 1 million per year or 1 million total, but we are many.
1 million per year.
1 million per year, okay. Our congregation is in the early stages of forming a new outreach ministry to the children of the divorced parents. And this is a ministry I did not ask for. Trust me. I did not ask for my parents' divorce. But it affected me profoundly along the same lines that scouting affected me profoundly in a very positive way. And I'm very, very grateful for my ability to make it to star. I guess the point of this announcement is, if anybody else has a heart for children of divorced parents, to help to reach them with education, consolation, guidance, help, strength, I would be very interested in speaking with that person. And that's basically my message. Thank you very much.
Let's give him a round of applause.